Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody's well today. We found this this pear in the woods, and I'm really excited about it because when I first bought Dandelion Cottage, there were two pear trees, and one of them was not doing very well at all. And I actually still have that pear tree, and it's still not doing very well, but it makes a wonderful trellis for my Himalayan musk rose. So it's in the orchard, and it looks pretty sad most of the year. But every once in a while, we find a pear. And it's always a big surprise because in the woods there's another pear tree, and because it's shaded and it lives in the woods, it hasn't had a chance to spread out and blossom and get pollinated and bear fruit. But every once in a while we find a pear, and it's like, where the heck did that come from? And it's from this very, very tall pear tree that's growing in amongst all the sugar maples and the other trees. And it's just a super tall, skinny tree that every once in a while produces some fruit. And so I'm very excited to be able to share the pear of 2023. This is probably the only one. And I just love painting pears. I don't know what it is about them. I love the color of them, the way they feel, the shape. I love to eat them, and so that's what we're going to be painting today. This beautiful single precious pear from the woods. So I've gotten out my watercolor sketchbook, and I'm going to find a page that doesn't have any painting on it, and we're getting actually pretty close to the end here. Let me just see if there's, I guess this is it. All right, and so there's only, I think, 4 or 5 more spreads in the book, so it's almost time to go back through it and to begin to finish up the things that I've started, and then eventually we'll have a flip through, and that probably will be sometime in the spring because it's going to take a little while with all the other holiday things going on and everything else. So let me check to make sure you can see me, and yes, that looks good. I see Kelly. Hi Kelly, how are you today? All right, so my thought is to have the pear down in this corner of the page, or the spread, and then maybe at some point I'll add some flowers or leaves, a branch going across. But I wanted to keep this area for writing or whatever. So I'm going to grab my brushes. I've got my number 7, my number 4, and I've got a pencil. And for my watercolors, I have my 3 primary colors, my yellow, red, and blue. And I'm just going to put that here. I'm going to put this paper towel to protect the opposite page. And then this will help to hold that down for me. All right. So, another paper towel just in case. Going to place that right there, and I'm going to do a little sketching first. And this is going to be a very simple painting today. And I wonder if I could raise that up on top. I want the pear to be a little bit higher. So let's see. I put it up on top of, that's better. Okay. Just, I don't want to be looking down on it so much. I want to be able to see its profile a little bit better. There are so many beautiful varieties of fruits, apples, pears, to go out into your local pick your own orchard or go to your farmer's market and get some of the beautiful autumn harvest. All of these things make wonderful subject matter to paint, and if you're quick enough, you can then take your subject and turn it into a pie, would be very nice, or a cobbler, all those things. Alright, so that's my basic pear shape, and I'm going to go ahead and put a light wash on it. And for that, I'm just going to clean up my palette because I don't want a bright yellow. I want some of these other colors mixed in with it. And I'm just going to begin with a quick wash, just like so. And I can adjust the colors as needed. And as the pear moves into the shade here, I'm going to add a little more red to my mixture. So there's the beginning, and I also want to add a cast shadow, and I'm going to have that kind of going in this direction, and I'll just mix up a kind of a neutral tone. There we go. And let's get to the side, the shadow side of that pear. So I'm going to mix a darker color. This is mostly yellow with a little bit of red and some of this blue that's on the palette, and I'm just going to drop that into the areas where I want there to be a little more shade. And there are some spots and kind of speckling on my pear, so I don't want it to be too smooth. I want it to have some of that kind of a texture, and also there's some green in there, So if I mix a little bit of the blue into my yellow, I can start to get that kind of a greenish tinge over on this side. And the stem also has a little bit of that green tone in it. And then up near the end, it has more of a kind of a golden brown. Okay, so that's looking pretty good so far. And that's only taken about, well, less than 10 minutes because I did a fair bit of talking, so let's say 5 minutes. And now what I want to do is I want to pay closer attention to the characteristics that make this pear unique. So I'm going to take a minute to just get some puddles of color ready to go here. Go. Anybody working on a costume for Halloween? Are you planning on getting dressed up? Do you have trick-or-treaters coming to your house? It's that time of year. Now my paper is still fairly damp, so the color is still moving, which means that I can drop in some additional tones and get a nice soft edge with them. I can do the same thing with my cast shadow. So my mixture here is sort of on the blue-violet side. If I take just a little bit of my yellow, that's going to neutralize that. There we go. So I can do the same thing with my shadow, just coming around in the areas closest to the subject where I want to be darker, and then taking a barely damp brush and just sort of pull that out to let that blend with what's already there. Once this is completely dry, if I wanted to, I could spatter some of the spots and things that are on the pear, but in the meantime, what I think I'll do is get a few of them started. So it's kind of an interesting color. It's got a lot of green, so something like that, and I can just begin to indicate where some of these kind of blotchy areas are. I'll give you a close-up of this in just a couple of minutes. And then there's some kind of darker spots here and there where maybe some insect has tried to make a hole in there or eat some of the fruit. And let's get some of this really nice shadow mixture. So I'm just adding a lot more pigment now to my mixture. So less water, more pigment, getting a nice tone for my shadow area. And I can begin to just bring that down, something like that. And when this is completely dry, if I decide, I can glaze right over the top of it, and I think that's what I'm going to do to kind of capture that beautiful greenish yellow quality. Alright, so I think we're just about done for the moment. I'm going to grab a little violet just to get that accent under the shadow area. Soften that a bit. And a little bit here. Okay, so that's my pear for today. I can just soften this a little bit. There we go. All right. Okay, so let me move this stuff out of the way so that I can zoom you in. Kelly says glaze over the top of the painting. Oh, I'm glad you asked, Kelly. Hold on just a second. So one of the things that makes watercolor such a wonderful medium to work with is that you have the ability to glaze over your painting once it's completely dry. So watercolor is a transparent medium, meaning that you can see through the washes of color. That's what distinguishes watercolor from gouache, which is an opaque medium. So because you have that ability to see through it, think of some colored cellophane or stained glass. That means that you can build up washes of color using glazes. So it's not something you can do when the painting is still damp. You have to wait for it to dry completely. But once it's dry, you can go right over. I could let this dry completely, and then take a very thin wash of, say, a yellow, or if it was a red apple, maybe I'd want it to be a thin wash of red, and I could just glaze that right over the top of my painting without disturbing the previous painting that I did before the glaze. So maybe that would be a good lesson for the Watercolor Card Club this month. You're giving me a really good idea. I think it's time for a little glazing lesson. So for those of you who are in the Watercolor Card Club, stay tuned. This month I'm going to show you how to create glazes to make your paintings just illuminate and just have incredibly brilliant color. Now I've got a little guest here on her way across the computer. So here is Pollywog. Say hello to the people. She's such a little squirmer. Here, let me zoom out a little. There we go. There she is. There's Pollywog. Look up. Look up. Kinda. A little bit. She's a little shy. There she is. Okay. All right, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, Kelly, I will be able to show you better in a longer video, because you really need to let these things dry completely before you can glaze over the top of them. But do take the time out to go to the farmer's market or the orchard and find some beautiful fruit. And if you do decide to paint something like that, I'd love to see what you do. So please post it in the Dandelion Paper Pals group so we can see what you do. So stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.